Maybe you clicked on this video because there's a version of yourself that you miss. At some point in our lives, without even noticing it, things begin to shift, energies begin to change. And not just within yourself, of course, the way you think changes, but the world around changes as well. My name is Anna. I am a working artist, and on this channel, we talk about art, mental health, life growth, healing from trauma, and other creative projects in between. If any of this sounds of interest to you, feel free to hit that subscribe button. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the slow process of becoming yourself again. So let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm not a mental health professional, but I just would like to share some of my story in hopes that it may inspire others along the way as well. So if you're feeling lost and you're not quite sure how to put that into words, I want to assure you that losing yourself begins quietly. It happens subtly. Now, of course, there are instances in our life that may be very, very traumatic and they happen all at once, or this one event happened to you and the next day you were just a completely different person. I have been through events just like this. That does not go without saying that those events also can be put on top of just the slow process of losing ourselves sometimes. So keep that specific scenario for those specific people in mind. For the rest of us, where we're feeling a little lost, we don't know quite when this may or may not have happened, we'll continue on as well, all together. It's small things over time. You notice yourself shrinking a little bit more. You're saying yes when deep down you really just wish you could say no, or vice versa. You want to minimize yourself. If there's any kind of conflict, you just don't want to be at the center of it. So you kind of just do whatever it takes to keep the peace instead of speaking your mind, instead of standing ground. In the midst of all of this, you're letting go of parts of yourself because they didn't fit somewhere. Like they didn't fit in the specific friendship situation or group dynamic or within the family. Just don't quite fit in. Or so that's how your body is holding it, and that's what's making you think and believe. And eventually there's this moment where maybe you're reflecting and you kind of wake up, and maybe you don't wake up. You're looking at yourself in the mirror and you just have a moment where you're like, who am I? What happened to this person that I used to be? For me, this gradual shift began several years back, and it's something that I am just very recently coming out of. And so that is part of the reason why I felt inspired to film this video today. My situation was a bit deep. It was a bit heavy for me personally. That might not be for everyone watching today. You may be in kind of maybe more of a simple place where it's beginning to hit you, or maybe it's hit you for a while and it's not something that has bothered you so deeply, but maybe it just tickles the back of your mind. And that's perfectly okay as well. Once we make this realization and we say, okay, I want to find this person again, then what happens? We come to what I call this in-between phase. So while you may have had a wake-up moment, or maybe it was a period of moments that gradually built up to bring you to a conclusion to say, I want to find myself again. I personally believe, obviously from my own sake and from others' paths as well that I can kindly observe, that becoming yourself again does not happen instantly. This in-between phase is a phase where things can become actually kind of uncomfortable because things feel off. It's almost as if you've gotten so used to being this being that was a little bit more lost. And as you come to this realization that you don't want to be that being anymore, you have to step out of that comfort zone that you've been in. And so that transition can be a little disorderly. And usually in the midst of this, of course, before you're in between phase, and during as well, but before this, everything that led up to this moment are things that caused you to lose yourself. And so you've lived moments, you've lived through defining parts of your life, no matter how short or long this span may have been. Once you become awake to the transition that you want to go through, you are not who you used to be. But also in this in-between phase, you're not fully yet who you are becoming either. So it's floaty. It's like your soul is kind of floating in space. And that floatiness can feel a little unsettling when we are not used to trusting the path in front of us. And trusting the path in front of us can look like quite a few different things. It comes from actions, it comes from our thoughts, of course, it comes from divine inspiration sometimes. For example, maybe it can look like things that you've been used to doing, but they just don't quite feel right for you anymore. Even if it's influenced socially and you have friends coming to you and saying, you've changed, but you just know within your heart it's just not going to align with your energy anymore and your principles. In the midst of that, you will begin maybe questioning some of your habits. Maybe there's habits that, although they bring you comfort and maybe small joys, they're not the healthiest, and it starts to gnaw at you a little bit. And this idea of letting them go might be a catalyst to letting larger things go in your life that you know eventually you're going to have to do. And all of this can make us feel a little out of place for a temporary period of time. This discomfort may even make this time period feel even slower than in reality what it possibly or actually is. However, I sincerely and severely want to encourage you to let this process be slow. Be gentle with yourself during this point in time. I like to imagine it as I was going down more rough river, more rough terrain, let's just say. And now I'm on a bit of a smoother sidewalk. However, outside is a little gloomy. It's not the perfect weather just yet, but at least my path before me, the river before me, is flowing just a little bit smoother. And so I have a little bit more safety there, a little bit more trust in myself. And so I'm going to just take a little bit more time to focus on this point in my life. You don't want a dramatic change overnight. It's not going to be as impactful, and it's not going to let you reflect as deeply on the lessons that you may need to reflect on and have learned from during your previous phase. That's usually built through small daily decision making. And so it takes time to build new habits. And so again, within this time, it can feel like a slow process. It can feel a little agonizing even at points. But begin choosing for yourself what actually feels right for you. Trust yourself. Trust that wisdom that you have within your body and your mind. Be honest with yourself, with your likes, your dislikes, your capacities and your capabilities. It's okay to give yourself permission to do things that feel aligned with you, even if it doesn't make sense to everybody else. A lot of the time too, I've been so excited about certain things within this process, and I tend to bring it to other people and they don't seem to take nearly as big of an interest in it as I do. So it may seem boring. There's going to be points where it's going to be a little boring, but take small joys within this period of boredom, within this period of stagnation, and just floating and letting things be as you grow and you change and you shift. It's a metamorphosis. So within these shifts, within these finding new habits, going to be moments where you're going to want to go back to what was comfortable to you previously. And there will be moments where you do it automatically without thinking about it, or maybe possibly even wanting to in the moment, but just a gentle reminder, you're not falling backwards. You're rebuilding right now. And a lot of the time we can use previous wisdom, things that we've learned in our past, to help us rebuild that future, the present. And at this point in your growth, at this point in that stagnation phase, the metamorphosis, you're not that person anymore anyways. Now you have even more lessons stacked on top of the previous lessons that's further growing you and blossoming you into who you are always meant to be. And the beautiful part about all of this is that you've already had all of this within you to begin with. Sometimes it just takes a journey, a path of unlocking this wisdom and bringing it to light, bringing it to the front of our mind instead of keeping it behind a safe or trapped within the body. After our resting phase, after a little bit of that stagnation phase, by the way, for me took several years until I felt like I had enough rest in my soul enough energy to begin to propel myself into a new phase of my healing. And that's when I started noticing the signs that I was becoming myself again. And to this day, I'm still discovering myself and continuing to become myself again. And so I just wanted to share some of the signs that I've noticed in myself and other people's journeys as well that I admire. Things that you can hopefully pick up on and hopefully will see as you transition out of that space. You're going to see it in small moments. You're going to see it in new relationships that you may have built by this point, or old relationships that you're cultivating even further. You're going to feel it in small ways in your body. You may be more relaxed. I would say the biggest indicator is that you are making choices from a place of peace. You're not making choices from anxiety, from a place of lack, from a lacking mindset. You may feel it deep in your chest, shoulders, your head, kind of all these areas in between, that the decisions that you're making just feel right. You're not responding to things the way that you used to. You're not so on edge. Whatever that may look like for you, being just from a little bit more of a relaxed predisposition because of the fact that your body is settling into you again, settling into a familiarity so deep, but it was so buried that it almost feels foreign, but it's like riding a bike after many years of not riding that bike. So there's a little bit of fear there, but as soon as you start pedaling and as soon as you feel that balance regaining, you know that you've got yourself. You know you're good. You're going to begin enjoying and discovering things that you thought you lost again, at first in small ways and tiny ways, and then you might give yourself that permission to cultivate them and grow them into something bigger again. Maybe like you used to, or maybe like in a way that you've never gotten the chance to, but now you say, why not? And you're going to keep breaking away from fears little by little. Again, it's a gradual process. It's something very gentle, very slow, and give yourself that time to have it be slow and gentle. So just a couple of reminders before I close this video out. There's no final moment when everything clicks together. You're not just gonna wake up one day and be like, and a fairy godmother tapped you on the head that night and it's just, you're a different person and all of a sudden, and it's this big shift. It's more like a teeny tiny fairy godmother tapping your head one time every single day at night. And every day you're waking up and it's a new day. It's a new time to learn something new. And it's another day that you're adding, building these new habits, building yourself again. It's okay for things to feel unclear right now. It's okay for things to feel slow, a little fuzzy, a little foggy, a little floaty. Anything I would say, if you feel that way, that's how you know you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Because nothing is wrong. Things are just changing. And change can feel scary. Change can feel scary to our body and to our psyche. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for watching. My name is Anna. I'm a working artist. And again, here on my channel, I talk about mental health. I talk about art. I talk about life growth and healing from trauma. And I will be sharing some of my creative projects along the way. Hopefully within the next few weeks, more to come. If this is a video that resonated with you deeply, tell me in the comments your thoughts, your feelings about it, likes or dislikes. I'd love to start a conversation. Otherwise, if you like this video, feel free to subscribe. I would love to see you again and just continue to have these deep talks and grow together as human beings. Again, thank you, and I will see you in the next video in the next couple of days. All right, see you later, YouTube. Bye.